All right, welcome all my fantasy readers. So today we're talking to J.A. Andrews. She is author of, what are your dragon books?
The Keeper Chronicles is a big one. Yeah. And
That's
then there's
the
a
series
history
name,
of it.
not the first book, right?
The first book is A Thread of Shadows. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I had those reversed in my head. I was like, the Keeper Chronicles, but wait, I was like, is that a series or the book? I was like, oh, I'll just let her say it.
Yeah.
So today, she writes amazing dragon fiction. I love it so much. She's one of my favorites. And I want to talk to you about dragons today, basically. Because
Yay.
my readers are on a huge dragon kick right now because we're finishing out the Dragon Master trilogy. Freedom is coming out in just a couple months. I actually just finished it last night. So I didn't tell you this
Did you
before I started
really?
recording. It came out to be almost 120,000 words. I read all the way through the 120,000 words in one day and sent to the editor. And I felt like I just had a baby.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's so huge. Like, that's amazing. That's
I needed
amazing.
it. So I just did it. Today I'm watching Freedom is out of my hands right now. For the next 6 weeks, I don't have to think about it. So awesome.
Yeah. And then all the edits come back and you're like, oh.
And then it's, yes, the
Yeah.
edits. But it's great
Yeah.
because I'll have a break from it, right?
Right. Yes. Right.
You made an awesome point about dragons. Let's talk about dragons and power.
Yeah. So the dragons in my book are a lot more along the lines of like Smaug and Lord of the Rings, rather than like Toothless and How to Train Your Dragon, right? They're just
Good range.
yeah, they're just like
Smog.
big and powerful and just like predators. And they're intelligent and they talk and but there's no like humans, like you don't befriend the dragons in my books really. And so yeah, I was just thinking about the fact that like especially in fantasy, I just feel like dragons are like the pinnacle of like something powerful and uncontrollable, even when they're not like attacking or they're not necessarily set against whoever you're reading in the book. Like even lots of good fantasy, your fantasy, people like ally themselves with dragons and have these connections with dragons. But there's still these creatures that are huge and unpredictable and wild. There's this crazy wildness to them, like a lion, like you're just not gonna tame it. And the fact that they're like reptiles, like they're so not human, but then we make them speak and we make them intelligent. And so it's just with I just feel like they're so uncontrollable. And that's a huge draw, I think, to when you have them in a story, because there's this enormous intelligent force that's really doing its own thing. And
I
yeah.
like the phrase intelligent force because I think most dragons in most books are extremely smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like the
Right.
dragons I encounter are like either really clever or sneaky or just really intelligent. So
Mm-hmm.
then why do you think we've created this? Like, do you think there's something behind it? Because I mean, humans are, like you and I are drawn to it, obviously, because we're writing these books about these crazy reptiles. So big question is like, why? Why do you think we're doing it?
Yeah, and like my husband and I talk sometimes just about how dragons are just so prevalent too in like world mythology, like all over the different parts of the world. They have these dragons, like they look a little different, but there's this concept of them being there. And so, yeah, I really think there's something. I mean, with all the coronavirus going on right now, while you and I are talking to each other, when we think about like humans a long time ago, and they made these myths up to try and explain the world. And I feel like we don't do that as much anymore. Like we're not trying to explain why there's bad crops or why there's a virus based on like a dragon. But at the same time, we're still living in this world where there are things so out of our control. Like I can't find toilet paper at my store. And like I have zero control over the toilet paper situation.
Yes.
And, like there's just so much, I feel like, I don't know, for me, dragons in the story just really embody this sense that humans, we're not as in control as we want to be. And there are things that we never will. It doesn't matter how clever we are or how strong we are. It's in a different range than us. Its power is just so overwhelming compared to us that we have to find a way to either outsmart it or to live with it or to befriend it. There's this, I know it just feels very applicable to like life in general, that there's so much that we don't control.
Well, and it's almost like I think some part of us might aspire to that because dragons, we were talking just a little bit before we recorded that they're a symbol of power, right? Like I think in a lot of different stories and myths and legends, it's symbol of power. I think in some way we might embody that as we're like searching for power in these times when we don't have any control or power, or we feel we don't, or at least over the things we want or need. But I also think there's like some element of romance in it, right? They are this like untouchable creature, right? That you're not gonna mess. They're basically dinosaurs, right?
Right. Right.
You're not gonna mess with them.
It could just kill us, like right now. Yeah. I had a thought, and I'm still not through my coffee, and I think the thought may have disappeared.
It's really early for both of us. It's 8 a.m. We both have children.
I was like, my only goal is to get the coffee done before I talk to Katie. Oh, you know what I was thinking? A lot of times in my books, and I think in yours too, just as these human characters, or I mean, I have elves and dwarves, you know, like these smaller, more human characters interact with the dragons. I think sometimes the thing that comes out the most is like the humanity of our characters too. Like when my humans are interacting with the dragons, the way they don't ever overcome them, but they avoid them, or they convince them to stop trying to kill all the humans. But so much of it's based in their own humanity. Like I have this one elf who, like in her words, she tries to befriend it. And like there's like this, the more human aspects that we bring up, like this relational aspect that humans are so good at, like when we can bring that into connection with the dragon, like that's the time I feel like stories that the humans have some agency. And so I think it's just such a, dragons just strike me as so different. They're so inhuman, even though they're intelligent and talk. They can all talk. I love that they can talk.
Well, and they're so apart, right? So I think that's part of the draw. Because really the question here is, like, why are we so drawn to dragons? That we're like creating these powerful, like mythical kind of beings. And I think it is perhaps an element of us grappling with what we can't control, like needing a sense of power. But I do think, you know, on that range of Toothless to Snog, I think that there are people that really connect or desire the idea of connection with the dragon. And I write more of that. So you kind of have a grumpy dragon.
I do.
Dangerous, grumpy dragons, right? Which maybe you were battling something and the dragon just symbolized that for you, whatever. But for me, it was like, no, I want my dragons, well, some of my dragons, because most of my dragons are pretty grumpy too, but at least one, Ludius and Sana, to create that connection, that like inseparable bond that so many books represent dragons and people with. So it's like we have these issues and the dragons symbolize them, but then sometimes we bring that humanity in and bring these two like races together that are so different and so apart, but then we create a connection through them. And I think that's really powerful, because maybe sometimes like people just want that. Like I know I've read books because I just crave the relationship between two people in it, you know? And I think sometimes we use dragons for that, because they are this big, powerful, like other, like you're talking about, you know, they're just so different. They're so different. They're so cool. And to be able to connect to that makes you feel almost special. Like I would really connect with that powerful like dragon thing. So I think that's the other aspect of dragons that really draws us in. We just want to be part of something bigger, you know?
Yeah. No, and I know like reading your books, like so many of the dragons, like there's the dragons that they're just really bonded to. And those feel so like, yeah, they feel special. Like you just feel like there's something so unique and powerful in their connection because it's so rare. But then all the other dragons that are surrounding that story, like even the ones that you know are not as powerful as some of, they're still like frightening, and just they're just so dragon. They're
just so dragon.
So, yeah, so it is really good. And it just occurred to me that in the book I'm publishing in April, I actually have a dragon and a woman that have that relationship. Very exciting.
So you do have a dragon that would like a human.
Yes, it's a little dragon. Like it's not huge, but it's like kind of grumpy towards everyone else, but it's very loyal to her. So there's
my dog's trying to enjoy our conversation over here.
So good.
So speaking of your books, so you have a book coming out in April. Tell us about that one.
It's called Dragon's Reach. Dragons in it, right? And it's book one in a new series, but it's related to my old series. So my old one was the Keeper Chronicles, and the keepers are like these historian, storyteller people.
So cool. I love
that. And then so my new series is actually Keeper Origins. So it's like several hundred years in the past, and it's just the beginning of the keepers and the country they live in and stuff. There's no no characters carry over between the two. It's just way too separated.
Okay.
But same world and same, like definitely same feel, and so hopefully they'll be good.
Awesome.
The readers will be pleased. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first book is the Thread of Shadows. You have a copy of it, right?
It's red. Yep. Here's
is
this.
that like the coolest cover? Your covers are amazing too. She's got like dragon eyes and
yeah. Oh,
so cool.
got this one. See.
Yes,
this is like a standalone.
Your coffee mug is a keeper's tale, right? Show me your coffee mug.
Dragon eyes. We're very dragon this morning. Lots of dragons.
And right now, your first book, Thread of Shadows, is 99 cents, right?
Yes, it is. So, and usually I have all the in a different cover, which is a little bit confusing, but I have all 3 of the trilogy in one big, really big book.
I didn't know you did that.
With a dragon on the cover. Can you see the dragon? Destroying something. So this is often 99 cents. It's in Kindle Unlimited, and
not the
really
paperback, the ebook, you mean?
No, the ebook, yes. But that one's like, yeah. So there's usually a way into my series for 99 cents.
Okay, cool, awesome. Especially right now during the big crazy, which is what I'm calling COVID.
Yes.
People are needing dragons more than ever because COVID kind of is the big dragon, and we need to make it nice.
We do.
So lots of amazing options for you guys to start into some more dragon books, and I guarantee you they're so good. Like I would never recommend anyone, but you're my favorite, right? So, so awesome. Well, thanks for talking to us about dragons. That was amazing.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we'll have you again soon.
Yay.